How can Warren Buffett's recent estate planning letter help long-term investors make better plans for themselves and their families? Recently, Warren Buffett issued a 4-page estate planning letter to his children and charities outlining some of his future wishes. Now, while it's a pretty brief paper, I would recommend everybody reading it. I want to focus on just a couple of lines that all investors and all families should be able to consider when thinking about their own estate plans. Okay, so I would again highly recommend reading the full letter, but let me just zoom in on this one paragraph where he says, "I have one further suggestion for all parents, whether they are of modest or staggering wealth. When your children are mature, have them read your will before you sign it." So let's break that down a bit. Now, first of all, he says when your children are mature. So if you have immature children, whether that's they're young or you just don't think they can handle this information yet, clearly this is not who he's talking about. But if you have emotionally and financially mature children, this is worth having a conversation. And then he says whether you are from modest or staggering wealth. So this conversation applies to everyone. Is you should have the conversation with your mature children before you sign your will. Now, why does he say you should do that? What's the why? Well, the why is so that you can explain your why. Because many times when you're making decisions about how you want things to be distributed or where you want your money to go, that's going to have questions behind it. The why behind your doing things a certain way. And being able to answer it is really helpful for your kids, who this is probably for their benefit anyways. And another reason that Mr. Buffett talks about that he recommends this is they may have feedback for you that is good feedback, that you might actually want to change your plans based on what they say. Now, keep in mind, this is not a requirement. Sometimes it's not a discussion as much as you're just telling them what you're going to do and explaining the why. But it is important, and I think that's something to keep in mind, that sometimes you can get good feedback from unexpected places. And so when working with clients on their own estate planning, some of the feedback that I've gotten about more of these open discussions has been, well, Kyle, I don't know that I really want my children to know how much money we have or to understand the finances behind what's going on. I don't want them to feel entitled. And I totally agree. Much of these conversations can just be a theoretical understanding of why you're making the decisions you're making. It does not have to have dollars attached. So it's really just you discussing your wishes, which again, like Mr. Buffett says, once you pass away, you will no longer be able to do. So if you already have a plan in place, that's great. Feel free to talk to your kids about the plan you already have in place. If you're getting ready to have one, this could be an opening to have a broader discussion. But more importantly, be thinking about who is this money going to be for and how can I make it as beneficial for everyone involved. I hope you found this helpful. And as always, thanks for investing your time with the Personal CFO.